2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the poor and where the prisons is. I was told good life is where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind. Caress the mind and question justifying. With you and God in time, our best aligned. Son, a better grandson, honoring Fannie Lou's and the Fred Hamptons, the Harriets, the chariots that carry us to various areas that marry us to progress. Yeah, we the harvest, the lovely days and midnight marauders, even through charges and days of darkness. No, we in the hands of the greatest artists. I see it in the waters, I see it in our daughters. They could be bridges that know no borders. For so long, them folk tried to ignore us. When we at the ballot box, it's a vote for us. Peace to Stacey and the people of Georgia, who galvanize so that we can move forward. Steps are ordered with the presence of mind. Everything's more beautiful in time.
You are listening and streaming a more opinion on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, your host and White House correspondent, joining you live in afternoon drive time, where I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Follow me on all the socials at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or if you're feeling froggy, just tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580, and there we are for your listening pleasure. Last but not least, subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way you won't miss or some of our most memorable episodes. Now, look, we've got quite the show in store for you today. It is primary election day, and while y'all were sleeping, sipping your coffee, getting the kids to school, millions of Democrats across the country are going to be deciding what this party looks like after this president. Michigan is picking a nominee. Missouri is refighting a war that we thought was over. And New Jersey tonight, a 12-year-old girl is grieving a father who went to work one morning in June and never came home because guess what? ICE says it's not their fault. We've got 2 hours in store for you, which means we've got 2 hours of receipts. We've got Germar Reed breaking down how artificial intelligence is quietly reshaping who gets hired, who gets surveilled, and who gets left behind. We've also got Brandon Lamar of the Pasadena chapter of the NAACP and James Farr, KBLA host of Conversations Live, Altadena Forward, taking us back to Altadena 18 months after Eaton, because today, for the first time, we got an official answer to the question that everybody there already knew. This is A More Perfect Union, and now it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. And kicking us off, let me just say, we're all looking at Michigan. It's decision day for Democrats in two states that could not be more different and couldn't matter more. Let's start with Michigan. Michigan Democrats are choosing today between Representative Haley Stevens, who has aligned with the party's establishment wing, and Dr. Abdul El Sayed, a former public health official running on Medicare for all and progressive priorities with backing from Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. This is the seat. This is the seat that a lot of people are paying extra close attention to. Senator Gary Peters is vacating this seat after declining to seek a third term. Governor Gretchen Whitmer stayed neutral for most of the race before endorsing Stevens in the final stretch. And recent polling has trended towards El Sayed, though a mid-July survey had Stevens ahead of the race 7 points. Michigan Democrats are also picking a nominee to succeed Whitmer, who's term limited, with Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson considered the clear favorite in that primary. Moving over a little bit in the Midwest, a lot of people are also looking at what's happening in St. Louis, Missouri. The Bush versus Bell race is on and popping. AIPAC St. Louis round 2, basically. Now, this is what's going on. It is a straight up referendum on where the Democratic Party is headed. I want to remind you that 2 years ago, AIPAC's Super PAC spent millions to help defeat then Representative Cori Bush. And in her concession speech, she promised to come back. Well, today she's trying to make good on that promise against the man who beat her, Representative Wesley Bell. AIPAC's Super PAC, the United Democracy Project, has spent $865,000 on TV ads supporting Bell this cycle. And here's the twist. Both candidates are Black. Both have roots in the modern civil rights movement that grew out of the 2014 police shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson. Y'all remember that? But St. Louis Public Radio reports the district's African-American plurality has historically not treated the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as a driving voting issue, which means this race may turn less on foreign policy and more on who each man has become, each man and woman, that is, become since Ferguson. Wesley Bell's camp isn't hiding from the AIPAC support, not at all. An AIPAC spokesperson told the Jewish Telegraphic Agency that Bell is, quotes, a principled fighter for the people of St. Louis, while accusing Bush of, quotes, demonizing a key Democratic ally. And Bell himself said on the campaign trail that he was, quotes, proud to stand with our Jewish brothers and sisters and support Israel. Meanwhile, former Representative Jamal Bowman called a potential Bush win, quotes, the ultimate referendum on AIPAC. And so you can see why a lot of eyes are on St. Louis this evening. Moving along, a story now that should stop every one of us in our tracks in Newark, New Jersey. The family of 41-year-old Edwin Lopez Cornejo, a Salvadorian father who had been in this country 20 years, is accusing ICE of medical neglect after he died Saturday at the Delaney Hall detention facility. His 12-year-old daughter, a U.S. citizen, said it at a news conference. She said, quotes, on the same day, we were both dead. The only difference was his heart stopped beating. I'm going to grow up without a father. Lopez Cornejo suffered from epilepsy, high blood pressure, and diabetes, and depended on daily medication to manage those conditions, according to his family. Family members say that the day before he died, he told medical staff that he couldn't feel half his face and his arm. And they're asking why he wasn't sent to a hospital immediately. We're all asking, why wasn't he sent to a hospital immediately? ICE's account is different. The agency says that Lopez Cornejo, quotes, received proper medical care and was seen by medical professionals while in custody, and that the official cause of death is still pending. I just want to note that he is the 56th person to die in ICE custody since President Trump began his second term, and the second person to die at Delaney Hall in less than 8 months. A Scripps News investigation into the facility called ICE Incorporated has documented complaints of delayed medical care, unsanitary conditions, overcrowding, and inadequate food there. New Jersey's governor, Mickey Sherrill, said, quotes, this tragedy is another painful reminder of why Delaney Hall should be closed. We'll keep tracking these primary results throughout the broadcast today, and we're going to continue to track these heart-wrenching stories about what's happening to our neighbors, what's happening to the folks that we share community with in the custody. When we come forward, joins us live to talk about espionage and what's really happening. You're listening to more perfect union on KBLA Talk 15 when we come forward.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
The KBLA 1580 app puts the realest conversations right in your pocket. Stream live wherever you are in the world. No static. No searching the dial. A crystal clear connection 24/7, exactly when you want it. We recommend that you keep automatic updates enabled. Set it and forget it. So the app stays up to date with store requirements, bug fixes, and new features as we roll them out. Download the KBLA 1580 app today and stay plugged into the conversation everyone's having.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-575-8935. 800-575-8935. That's 800-575-8935.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
Literally right in front of our doorsteps the last 2 to 3 years, we have been interrupted by this nightmare of a project called Destination Crenshaw. The desire was partnership at the onset, but we've seen broken promise after broken promise. We've seen our parishioners impacted. We've seen our peers and our local neighbors impacted directly by this. We've seen the crippling of the Crenshaw economy as a result of this project starting and then ultimately walking away. And we're not going to just lay down. We're not going to just, amen, pretend like nothing's happening on our doorsteps. And tonight I want to get out of the way because I want to hear from you. I can stand there as a pastor and tell you how many times we've been interrupted from our flow of worship, how it's impacted our ability to provide services to our community, how the blight and how the construction derailment has hindered our ability to amply run our food pantry programs, to offer summer camp programs for our young people, how the construction impacts just our ability to be able to come to church and park. I can go on about how it's interrupted just our day-to-day operations and being able to accommodate the needs of our community.
Making sure they stick to the truth. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Hit me!
National news, the consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai. I'm really delighted to be in conversation with Germar Reed. He is one of our frequent contributors here. Germar is also the founder of Data Analyst, and we always feel a little bit smarter when he joins us. And so welcome back, Germar.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Nee. It's always great to be on the air with you.
Well, always great to have you here. I want to start off with some of these very troubling AI stories that are afoot. Germar, it's worth noting that before we get fully into the tech, I just want to read a little bit about what Politico is reporting. We've been following this calamity that is afoot, this humanitarian crisis that is afoot 90 miles off the coast of Florida in Cuba. There are reports that the U.S. is ramping up their spy presence in Cuba. The U.S. has increased its intelligence assets in Cuba in recent months as the Trump administration pushes the island's communist government to reform or fall. One source actually described it as the CIA strengthening its presence on the island. A second person said the administration is, quotes, going to pursue all the conventional tools, including intelligence community resources, while insisting the president, quotes, prefers diplomacy. This comes as the administration has already imposed an energy blockade that's left Cuba largely in the dark, and as it continues to focus heavily on the ongoing war in Iran. I've got to ask you, from a data and intelligence technology standpoint, Germar, what does increasing intelligence assets, what does it actually look like in 2026? Are we talking human resources or something more digital?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably both and. I'd say that they are deploying data science and analytics techniques along with deploying people. And one thing that's interesting to me, I mean, the surge that's happening at this moment with what's going on in the news in the Middle East, and the fact that it's going on as we're negotiating or in discussion with Iran. So I find it very interesting. I'm pretty sure, and I'd be confident that they are deploying both people and technology.
Yeah. I mean, it almost seems as if they're sending a message that, you don't want to end up like Iran. It's the classic. What's that line from the Tina Turner song? We can do it nice and easy, or we can do it rough.
I think you have it right. And then also, it also reminds us. I mean, isn't this what happened in Venezuela? I mean, they deployed technical assets and then people. And then, and to me, it is if we're not able to flex our power elsewhere, it's a reminder that, hey, we may not be able to do it elsewhere, but we will do it here. And I think that there's a message being sent there.
Yeah. And you just brought up Venezuela, and, I've got to ask you, historically, when the U.S. escalates covert pressure campaigns in Latin America, what's the track record? What's the track record of how that plays out, particularly for the people on the ground?
Yeah, and interesting. I spent most of my time in Latin America when I was in the Marine Corps, up and down the coast, South and Central America. And I will tell you, just as an honest broker and and someone that follows history, especially military history, those that we've been focused on have not tended to do well after we have pulled back. And so as we talk about Cuba, I just think about the fact that if you look historically, when the U.S. has gone in and we have applied pressure or tried to manipulate, whatever government's in place, when we leave, we don't tend to leave it in a better place, those countries in a better place.
Yeah. Well, we're going to continue to follow this. We have been following developments in Cuba. All of our leaders, learners, and listeners know that I had the experience of being on the ground in Cuba late May, and what I saw blew my mind. And I think if more Americans knew what was happening in our name in Cuba by our government, I think more people would be making their displeasure known in peaceful protests, by all means. Moving along, colleges are rushing to add AI minors for all majors. You see this?
I did, and I have some, definitely have opinions on this, and I find it quite interesting. I mean,
yeah. For folks who are less familiar, schools like Virginia Commonwealth University are standing up AI minors, specifically targeting students outside of computer science. Purdue now has a new AI graduation requirement. Harvard is teaching freshman writing students how large language models work. And Ohio State has an AI fluency requirement with a hands-on workshop. Meanwhile, incoming computer science enrollment has actually started to shrink, even as everybody is racing to add the AI minor. There's a real human story here, too. One Virginia Commonwealth University psychology major, initially reluctant, is now pursuing the AI minor because she says, quotes, "It gives me an edge and in standing out." And a biology major studying AI because she wants to understand the brain that it's trying to emulate. And so, clarifying question for you, Germar.
Yeah.
What's the actual difference between an AI minor and just learning to use tools like ChatGPT or Claude? Is this literacy, or is it something deeper?
I think it is literacy, and I am in support of it. I think it makes sense to better understand the tools that are out there, and to better understand how they work and how to apply them. One thing that I often, and as I think about this, what I worry about is those folks that decide to spend less time on the core skills like math, science, reading, and spend less time there and more time in AI. Because as you know, as a political scientist, as a journalist, it's great to have the tools, but if you don't have the understanding behind what the tools are capable of, it's something that you as a professional, I assure you as a professional, can pick those out that are using AI and not thinking through the questions that they're asking and the discussions that they're having. So I mean, that's the thing I worry about. And last thing I'll end on is that one thing I'll tell you in corporate America, when it comes to data science and analytics, we're always going to be hiring those that have mathematics backgrounds or science backgrounds, because we know that you have the core, and then we just apply the tools on top of that. So
I've got to ask you, Germar, historically, when is higher ed reorganizing this fast around a single technology really serve students well? I mean, should we pump our brakes a little bit before all these colleges, start creating these AI majors and minors? There are lots of different technologies out there, in which case AI, is one major technology.
Right.
But it's not the only technology. Is there some concern around folks reorganizing around AI specifically?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I think it's, again, I think of it as, we can teach our children math, or we can teach them how to use calculators. There's going to be a difference in what's on the other side of that. I mean, if the calculators go out, or if the calculators are no longer useful, and you don't know how to use the techniques in order to solve math problems, there's going to be a problem. And I think that the same problem is going on in corporate America. You have a lot of CEOs and CFOs. They just want to make sure that, hey, are we using AI? And in any case, with regard to AI, if you're building it on top of bad data, it doesn't matter that you have this tool sitting on top of it. It's just going to give you bad information. So I think the same thing applies with education. You know, we need to continue to build on the core, you know, making sure that folks are spending time in math, science, and reading and all of the core subjects, and then building on top of and supplementing with understanding how to use the tools that are out there. Yeah. That's my opinion there. So
yeah. And I've got to ask you, for the parents that are listening right now whose kids are picking a major this fall, what do you tell them?
Yeah. Focus on the core, because again, if we, you know, it's a difference in learning how to do the math or learning how to use the calculator. If one is taken away from you, you want to be able to solve that problem, be able to have the ability to solve that math problem. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you, when it comes to my girls graduating, we're going to stick to the core. What you want to do on top of that, you know, I'm going to be supportive of that. But yeah.
Finally, OpenAI has admitted unreleased models. It broke out of its payment and hacked into the AI data form Hugging Face, and conducted its own review and discovered had hacked three separate companies. And so legal experts are calling this uncharted territory. One cybersecurity attorney told sources that AI agent can't be prosecuted like human employee because a victim would likely prove LLM only hacked them. When we come forward, we get Jamar's take on this more. You are listening to and streaming more perfect on KBLA Talk.
The audience is listening. Thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Martin Luther King Jr. Community Hospital in Willowbrook, California is warning it could close because of a major funding gap. The hospital treated about 5 times the number of patients it was built to serve last year and could face a shortfall of up to $100 million.
We're one of the busiest emergency departments in the United States of America.
Los Angeles County supervisors are expected to vote on a review of funding distributed to 13 hospitals. A bridge replacement project is hurting businesses in a historically Black lower-income area of Sumter, South Carolina. The Sumter Black Chamber of Commerce says over 10,000 cars a day are being diverted. And Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass is far outpacing challenger Nithya Raman in fundraising. Bass raised more than $511,000 in June and nearly $3.8 million overall, compared with Raman's $1.2 million. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CummonsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The USC Notre Dame football rivalry is back on the schedule. The longtime rivals agreed to start playing each other again in 2030. USC and Notre Dame signed off with a new 4-year home-and-home series. After last year's game in South Bend, the two programs decided to end the rivalry when they couldn't agree on future dates. USC and Notre Dame have been playing each other since 1926. Here are the top 5 HBCU football players this season. Alabama State quarterback Andrew Body, Hampton offensive lineman Omari Allen, Alabama State offensive lineman Elijah Baker, Southern University defensive back Herman Brister, and Alabama A&M quarterback Cornelius Brown. Clippers guard Darius Garland was among the NBA players and celebrities who attended the wedding of Cleveland Cavaliers star Donovan Mitchell and R&B singer Coco Jones. Mitchell and Jones were married Saturday in Greenwich, Connecticut. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's do this. When the political stakes are this high, you need a source you can trust. KBLA Talk 1580. Los Angeles is home for politics all the way to November. Stay informed. Stay ahead.
This is America. Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. At the heart of the Al Wooten Center's mission for good citizenship and academic excellence is a desire to ensure that every student avoids the kind of lifestyle and overcomes the kinds of challenges that led to the murder of Al Wooten Jr. In 1990, founder Myrtle Fay Rumpf opened the center in honor of her son's life. In 2026, they are serving more than 300 students in grades 3 through 12 annually online and on site at their youth center and other sites in the South LA area. The Al Wooten Jr. Youth Center takes a neighborhood approach to the revitalization and empowerment of the community in crisis. The Wooten Center provides free after-school and summer programs to help students in grades 3 through 12 attain grade-level proficiency and promotion, high school graduation, and college and career access and success. The Al Wooten Center focuses on academics, STEM, the arts, and so much more. Join them for an enriching experience that sparks creativity and nurtures young minds. Tap in at wootencenter.org. That's wootencenter.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's do this.
Los Angeles is listening, and finally, Los Angeles is being heard. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, and we have Germar Reed with us. Germar, are you there? I think you're on mute.
Oh, I'm here. Yep.
There you are. Well, wonderful.
Thank you, Dr. Nii.
So glad to have you here, helping us to make sense out of some of the biggest headlines that are trending. Before the break, I was talking about this open AI Anthropic hacking that has really sort of opened up this next frontier on the legal front. It's been reported that OpenAI has admitted that one of its unreleased AI models, it broke out of its containment and hacked into the AI dataset platform Hugging Face. And Anthropic conducted its own internal review and discovered its model had hacked 3 separate companies. And you got legal experts that are calling this uncharted territory. Germar, in plain English, how does an AI model break out of containment, quote unquote? Walk us through what that even means technically.
Yeah, without a whole lot of information on this exact situation, these models, in many cases, the algorithm is built to actually continue without human input. So in many cases, it's using machine learning. It's going to continue to improve on itself and look for ways to improve on itself with initial direction, which is going to be in that initial code that's written. So If you set that algorithm off to set up to solve a problem, it's going to continue down the path and look for ways to solve that problem. And in some cases, it's going to go about going outside of the box, so to say, and to look to see if it can, if there is a solve outside of the box or container that may have been put in place. So that's and that's one thing. One of the things that I often, whenever working in AI, I'm typically going to put in place what we call a in the human or a human in the system, where an approval by a human is going to be in place in some of these situations, especially when there's something to do with any type of security. Yeah.
I mean, Germar, has anything like this ever happened before with earlier generations of software, or is this genuinely new territory?
I can't think of a situation where it's happened large scale. But again, this is where I think and what I was saying before, human in the loop is what we're looking for. That's something that this is something where I say, when folks started talking about, hey, AI is going to replace everyone that's working or anyone that's in technology, it should not. There should be a human in the loop, as we say, approving or reviewing code or auditing code. There should be a human in that situation. But Doc, I'm not sure if I can recall something happening at this scale.
And so to the everyday person that may not even be using, AI platforms at their full potential, should this change how everyday people think about trusting AI tools with their data?
I think I don't know if it should change anything as far as how you're using it. I think from the beginning, you should be careful in what you're putting inside of these tools. You should be careful as far as the personal information that you're putting in. You should be careful as far as if I know that there are some tools, some of the tools out there, you have the ability to actually read your email, summarize it, and in some cases send an automatic reply. I'm not sure if I for one, I don't have that set up to where AI can send that automatic reply for me. I'm going to, at the bare minimum, have a situation where I'm reviewing and approving. But so I would be careful of setting up these fully automatic, these fully auto scheduling options within some of these tools. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Germar, I mean, this is one of the big questions I know that folks are talking about in Washington and in state houses across the country. And I want to put it to you, if you were writing federal AI regulation tomorrow, or if you're writing AI regulation for a state that was sort of, a leader among leaders in the space, does an incident like this, does it move you towards stricter licensing, or does it actually validate that the transparency first companies are doing it right?
I think it moves me towards more strict regulation. And we talked about this, I think, last time we were on. It moves me towards making sure, I think something that in Illinois they're doing, and we talked about this last time, I think New York's doing the same thing. I don't know, I haven't heard of any other states, maybe California, ensuring that there's an audit, there is the ability for third-party auditing outside of the organization, because to be honest, can you trust an auditing group inside of the organization fully to call? In some cases, they're going to raise their hands and say, hey, there's a problem. But I would feel more comfortable with a third-party organization auditing and having and not only auditing once, but having an annual audit, something that happens on a regular basis, so that we're able to look at the code that's in place and the algorithms and make sure that they're working as they were set up to. Yeah,
it's a very sage wisdom. I hope the folks out there listening are listening closely. Moving along, just recently we heard a story about hackers hitting a water system, not just in Minnesota, but several other states. The FBI and the EPA, they've warned that utilities nationwide, they've warned them that hackers are trying to disrupt critical water infrastructure after cyber attacks were reported in at least 7 states, as I mentioned. Hackers targeted about 30 water systems, forcing some utilities to issue boiling water notices and switch to manual operation. U.S. intel agencies, they've assessed that Iran was likely behind the attack, though investigators are also probing whether the actor tried to appear Iran-based to stir the pot amid the ongoing U.S.-Iran conflict. So now here's where it gets political. President Trump, speaking to reporters, he blamed Minnesota Governor Tim Walz directly, saying, quotes, "I think I blame it on Minnesota because they're grossly incompetent. They like to say, oh, it's Iran. Iran should be so lucky." Meanwhile, CISA is urging every water utility in the country to disconnect their industrial control system from the open internet. The good news, if there is any, Minnesota officials say that there's no indication that breach contaminated any municipal water supply. And so, Germar, I've got to ask you, what's a programmable logic controller, and why is it apparently the soft underbelly of American infrastructure?
I mean, it's us using technology in order to be more efficient, in order to using technology to do our jobs better. And I say better in air quotes, but to help us to become more efficient. And this actually takes me back to one of the stories that we talked about early on. They've asked these water systems to unplug from the internet. Mm-hmm. In order to do that, you have to be able to operate offline, be able to operate without the assistance of the technology that's been put in place. So again, this goes back to, those students that are studying, make sure you understand what you're doing and you're using the tool to enhance what you're doing rather than using the tool as a crutch, so that when you have to go offline and to operate without the technology that's in place, you're able to do that and do your job and do it well. But yeah, this is again, it's it's the good and the bad. You plug in order to help yourself and improve what you're doing, but there's also the possibility that you're also online and others have access to what you're doing as well.
Has critical infrastructure like water, has this always been this vulnerable, or is this a new class of threat?
I think it's been vulnerable for a while. I think within the last 10 years, at least 10 years, a lot of our infrastructure has been online and it's been connected. But I think that I think it's been a little while since it's been online. I think we're hearing a lot more about it as AI is become a topic of discussion. Yeah.
When I first heard this story, I couldn't help but think about municipalities like Flint, Michigan, like Jackson, Mississippi, that have very well documented challenges with their water infrastructure. For communities of color that are disproportionately served by underfunded municipal water systems, what does that mean for folks who are more exposed here?
Yeah, so I wonder if because some of these places are underserved, if they are using all the technology that's available, and if some of them may be already operating offline, meaning that they're in less danger. So I think about it in both ways. It's because again, the more technology that you have, the more exposed that you may be. So this may be a situation where, and I don't know this, I'm gonna have to read up on that afterwards. That's definitely a question, something to look into.
Yeah, and something that folks are looking into now is NYPD's high-tech hunt for a paint protester. I'm not sure if you saw this story, but Germar, this is another story about how surveillance technology gets pointed and at who. Apparently, a pro-Palestinian protester splattered red paint on Columbia University's alma mater statue, and NYPD investigators responded by deploying an extensive array of high-tech surveillance and investigative tools, including networks of surveillance cameras and facial recognition software, all to identify the suspect. The activist, Jakai Isaiah, whose legal last name is McCrae, was eventually charged. And here's the part that should raise eyebrows. Documents obtained by The Intercept show that NYPD investigators, they appeared to have abandoned the case at one point before being spurred to reopen it by federal officials, with both the ATF and the U.S. Marshal Service participating in separate federal investigations into the same activists. And for context, on the actual damage, Columbia claimed thousands of dollars in harm to the statue, but maintenance crews cleaned the paint up almost immediately. And student photographs, they show that it was gone by the end of the day. And so from a data standpoint, Germar, what does it actually take technically and financially to run facial recognition against surveillance cameras networks like this?
I think this goes back to a topic we discussed a few weeks back. I mean, a lot of these systems are interconnected. So, and you're able to pull, and a lot of these municipalities and apparently the university and the city, they are connected, and they're using each other's data in order to zero in on folks that they want to capture or to charge. And this facial recognition information and the mapping is interesting to me, because a few years back, I remember hearing all about how China was using it and plugging it into a social score. And this feels a lot more like some of the things that a lot of folks here in the U.S. were criticizing China for doing. It definitely kind of has that flavor to it. So, yeah.
Germar, what should protesters of any cause understand about their digital footprint before they show up to a demonstration in 2026?
Yeah, so technology can be both your friend and your enemy. Carrying your cell phones, I think we talked about it a few weeks back. They have the ability to figure out who was in a location, who was protesting by the technology that you're actually wearing and you have with you. And as we can see here, this facial recognition technology is out there. It's being used. It'll be used to track folks down and to prosecute. And I think folks should understand that. And also, they're not just using it in the moment. They are creating databases. I'm more than sure that there are databases being created, and information is being added as they see protesters in not just one location protesting, but in other locations protesting. And it's going to be networked. It's not going to just be in New York City. If you're protesting in St. Louis, I'm sure there's going to be the ability for them to actually create a log and to track that data.
If you're a civil libertarian on the right that's worried about government overreach, and a civil libertarian on the left that's worried about protest suppression, where do those two people actually agree here?
I think they both agree that our government should not be doing this to us, should not be using technology to, number one, to quiet our voices. But then for those that are on the right, this is big government in every sense of the imagination. This is big government, big brother, watching and tracking and keeping your information and using it not for your benefit. So I think there's agreement on both sides of the aisle on this one here. Yeah.
When we come forward, Germar, we want to get your reaction to a Washington Post investigation that's making blood boil on how predatory trade schools have drained $300 million meant for our veterans. More when we come forward. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
Promise, this is a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
It's the show everybody's talking about. What's up, y'all? I'm Amanda Seals with a personal invitation for you to join me every Friday here on KBLA Talk 1580. Now, you get 2 chances to tap in, noon to 2 p.m., and again from 4 to 6 p.m. Real talk, no filter, just you and me on the highest of vibrations. Fridays only on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is dedicated to inspiring youth and resilience through storytelling, arts, filmmaking, and enrichment programs for youth and families in under-resourced communities and system-impacted individuals. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit providing free and low-cost arts programs to youth and families from under-resourced communities, both system-impacted youth and those affected by the incarceration of a loved one. 1 in 43 children in America have a parent incarcerated. 70% of those children are expected to end up in prison. Through filmmaking, animation, theater, and writing, they help young people express themselves, build confidence, and imagine new possibilities. Beyond the arts, they offer financial literacy workshops, emergency support, and scholarships. Because thriving takes more than talent, it takes access. To learn more about the impact of Michael Daughters Foundation and how you can be a part of the movement, please visit their website, michaelsdaughterfoundation.com. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We are anti-racist, and anti-stupid stuff. Unapologetically progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
And we are here on the chocolate side of Los Angeles to simply lift up black dignity, black honor. No spirit of hatred here. We're here because we love our people. We love the people of this community. We love the people of every corner of this city, but some of us start on the chocolate side. And so all of the critiques, all of the calls for accountability have nothing to do with ad hominem attacks on any elected official. It has to do with either indifference or incompetence, maybe even corruption. We don't know, but we just want to make sure that everyday people in this community are treated with the dignity that they deserve. That's why we're here.
Holding them accountable. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
We face tragedy, but we don't fall into despair. We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai. He's Germar Reed, the founder of District Analyst and our resident data justice contributor. One more for the road, Germar. This Washington Post investigation, it's the kind of story that makes you want to throw something at the TV. Now, a for-profit trade school that educates military veterans under the GI Bill have really sort of got the federal government out of more than $300 million, often by charging enormous sums for basic classes that last only days or weeks. This is according to a major Washington Post investigation. And I really want to sit with this example. In New Hampshire, an organic lawn care institute, I've never even heard of such a thing, but rock with me. An organic lawn care institute taught veterans how to grow grass in a course that took at most 5 days, and typically billed the VA $14,900 per student, more than triple what it charged civilians not covered by the GI Bill. Now, this is not new. It's generational. In 2020, the owner of Blue Star Learning was sent to prison for 45 months in order to repay the VA $30 million for a fraudulent GI Bill program with falsified job placements. And from 2009 to 2017, 8 of the 10 schools receiving the most post 9/11 GI Bill funds, they accounted for 20% of all GI Bill payments. We're talking about nearly $35 billion. That's billion with a B. While 7 of those 10 faced law enforcement action for deceptive advertising and predatory recruiting, and less than 28% of their students ever completed the degree. Now, Germar, walk us through how a school gets away with charging the VA triple what it charges everyone else for the same 5-day class.
Doc, I don't even know if I can answer that, but I can tell you that as someone that used the GI Bill to earn my way through college, I understand that once you use that money, it's not like an open faucet that you can go back to. So what angers me about this story is you have veterans that are, in many cases, that are going into these programs with the idea that they'll be able to earn a better life for themselves on the other side of their time in the service, and walking away with the certification or degree that'll allow them to earn and to take care of their families. and to find out that, that these organizations are overcharging and they're walking away without the ability to earn. And this is my understanding. And in cases in the past, they'll walk out on the other side of this and not be able to turn this into real income to help provide for their families. That's a disgrace. And it angers me. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it angers me. It should anger everyone, that watches this kind of abuse taking place and this kind of cheating of all of the taxpayers. Black and brown veterans, as you know, are disproportionately represented in enlisted ranks, and they're often targeted hardest by predatory recruiting. What does that mean here?
That's right. Same thing. I mean, I saw something similar when I was living in Michigan, and all of these pop-up shops were offering nursing degrees, and you had folks graduate with all of this debt, and it was mostly Black and brown folks that graduated with this debt and not able to gain a job that allowed them to pay to earn a decent living. And I think this is a similar situation. And this is not something this is something that the government should be going very hard at and prosecuting these folks here.
I agree. Germar Reed, my brother, thank you for your time, your expertise, and for making all of this make sense. This wraps up hour one, but we're just getting started. Coming up when we come forward in our next hour, McDonald's, they can't sell you a cheap meal to save its life. Ebola is spreading faster than any outbreak in history. And we go back to Altadena for the news that dropped today on the Eaton Fire with the NAACP Pasadena chapter president, Brandon Lamar, and KBLA's own James Farr. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward. Thank you, Germar.
Thank you, Doc.
Patients it was built to serve last year and could face a shortfall of up to $100 million.
We're one of the busiest emergency departments in the United States of America.
Los Angeles County supervisors are expected to vote on a review of funding distributed to 13 hospitals. A bridge replacement project is hurting businesses in a historically Black lower-income area of Sumter, South Carolina. The Sumter Black Chamber of Commerce says over 10,000 cars a day are being diverted. And Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass is far outpacing challenger Nithya Raman in fundraising. Bass raised more than $511,000 in June and nearly $3.8 million overall, compared with Raman's $1.2 million. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CumminsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The USC Notre Dame football rivalry is back on the schedule. The longtime rivals agreed to start playing each other again in 2030. USC and Notre Dame signed off on a new 4-year home-and-home series. After last year's game in South Bend, the two programs decided to end the rivalry when they couldn't agree on future dates. USC and Notre Dame have been playing each other since 1926. Here are the top 5 HBCU football players this season. Alabama State quarterback Andrew Body, Hampton offensive lineman Omari Allen, Alabama State offensive lineman Elijah Baker, Southern University defensive back Herman Brister, and Alabama A&M quarterback Cornelius Brown. Clippers guard Darius Garland was among the NBA players and celebrities who attended the wedding of Cleveland Cavaliers star Donovan Mitchell and R&B singer Coco Jones. Mitchell and Jones were married Saturday in Greenwich, Connecticut. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's do this. Every vote matters. Every voice counts. And between now and November, the decisions made in Washington, Sacramento, and here at home in Los Angeles will shape the future of your family and your community. Don't leave it to chance, and don't leave it to guesswork. KBLA Talk 1580 is your source for the political conversations that matter most. Real talk, real insight, right here. KBLA Talk 1580, the place for politics.
The blackness, keep on. Keep on. Blackness, keep on. Keep on. The blackness. Keep on. The blackness.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Corte, and this is hour 2 of A More Perfect Union. McDonald's affordability push is falling flat, and Ebola has now killed more people in Congo than any outbreak in modern history at this pace. And then Altadena. We're joined by NAACP Pasadena Chapter President Brandon Lamar to unpack today's bombshell fire department report on what caused the Eaton Fire. And we're also joined by KBLA's own James Farr, an Altadena resident himself, connecting those flames to what's happening right now in Spokane, Washington. And we close with a story out of Ohio that should make every one of us pay attention. ICE and ankle monitors on Haitian immigrants. Let's go ahead and get into it. It's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. And kicking us off here, McDonald's, the value menu fails to win back diners. That's right. McDonald's reported its slowest U.S. sales growth in over a year as its value push, it's fell flat with customers still struggling with higher prices, and overall U.S. customers count that's actually declined at McDonald's. The CEO didn't sugarcoat it, saying, quotes, "We simply didn't execute at the level we needed in the second quarter," adding that the company must, quote, "raise the bar in the U.S." Executives said they simply offered too many overlapping value deals, a $3 and under menu, $5 bundled meals that ended up muddling the message rather than clarifying it. There's a leadership shakeup too. Sky Anderson, a longtime McDonald's employee, is taking over as president of the U.S. division, replacing Joe Erlinger, who had held the role for 6 years. And the bigger picture here matters for our listeners. Roughly half of Americans now say they view fast food as a luxury because they're struggling financially, and 75% say fast food isn't actually cheaper than eating at home, even though most people think it should be. Moving along from McDonald's here at home to the Ebola outbreak in the Congo, this next story deserves our full attention because it's moving faster than any Ebola outbreak in recorded history. Ebola has killed more than 1,700 people in eastern Congo, with over 3,800 cases recorded as of Tuesday. By comparison, the massive 2014 to 2016 West Africa outbreak, which eventually killed over 11,000 people, it took about 8 months just to reach 1,000 deaths. This outbreak has already blown past that pace. The outbreak is caused by the rare Bundibugyo strain of the virus, concentrated in one of Congo's provinces, which accounts for nearly 90% of cases, though infections have spread to 5 other provinces, including the major city of Kisangani. I think I got that right. Africa CDC Director General Dr. Jean Kaseya said it's not yet clear when the outbreak will peak, and cautioned that nearly 80% of new cases are coming from community spread rather than known contact tracing, which tells you containment is genuinely struggling. Now, why is this happening? Well, the response has been hampered by a funding gap, attacks on health centers, ongoing armed conflicts in eastern Congo, and mistrust among local communities. Displacement from that conflict and illegal mining in the region have made it extremely difficult to trace the thousands of people who've come into contact with infected individuals. But there is a glimmer of hope. There's a glimmer of hope. Enrollment in a highly anticipated study of 2 possible Ebola treatments has recently started, and neighboring Uganda has already declared itself Ebola-free after discharging its last patient in mid-June. And so there is reason to be hopeful, and we're going to hold hope, but we also should be paying attention, because some of the same surveillance systems that we had in place to be on the lookout for outbreaks like this, they're not the same as they used to be. A lot of the funding that we were providing, public health funding around the world and on the continent of Africa, are either no more or they have been cut so severely. And so this is really a warning that when we don't look out for our neighbors and friends and allies around the world, that it's just a matter of time until someone boards a plane or a ship and goes to another part of the world, and now that part of the world is dealing with problems. And so we're going to continue to keep our eye on the Ebola outbreak, the Ebola crisis in the Congo. And when we come forward, we're moving from the Congo to Altadena, because today, for the first time, we got an answer on what caused NAACP Pasadena Chapter President Brandon Lamar joins us next. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Action 24/7, exactly when you want it. We recommend that you keep automatic updates enabled. Set it and forget it, so the app stays up to date with store requirements, bug fixes, and new features as we roll them out. Download the KBLA 1580 app today and stay plugged into the conversation everyone's having.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-575-8935. 800-575-8935. That's 800-575-8935.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
While Gavin was telling the story about the mural at LAX, I kid you not, Gavin, somebody just texted me a photo of it. See, this is unacceptable. At inside of LAX, they have a mural. These gorgeous, beautiful pictures of Destination Crenshaw. It don't look nothing like this. We don't know when they're going to restart or when they're going to finish, but they're marketing and promoting this inside of LAX. It's not right, y'all. It's just not right. You can't exploit us in that way, right? Get the project done, then you can brag about it. But can we finish it first?
Keeping them in check. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
We have no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Only permanent interests as we effort to build a more perfect union.
You are listening and streaming Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, and really delighted to welcome to the show Brandon Lamar. He is the president of the Pasadena chapter of the NAACP. Right away when I saw this news, I knew that I wanted to talk to folks who've been organizing on the ground from the very beginning to get their immediate reaction to this. Brandon is not just the president of the NAACP Pasadena chapter. He's also a documentary filmmaker who's been telling the story of Altadena since before most of the country knew its name. Brandon, welcome back to A More Perfect Union.
I believe you're talking to me, but I can't hear anything from my end of it.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to fix that because that's essential. We're going to work on Brandon's audio, but in the meantime, we're going to go to James Farr. James Farr is also with us today. James Farr is host of Conversations Live, Altadena Forward here on KBLA. James, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Thank you for having me. I'm actually live right now at the headquarters of LA Fire Justice, and I just finished speaking with CEO Chris Holden, former Pasadena mayor, former California State Assembly member, and Speaker of the House, and getting his reaction to this bombshell finding in this investigation report into the causation of the January 2025 Altadena Eaton Canyon fire, which, Doc, as you know, destroyed over 9,000 structures. A total of 9 people perished in the fire, and estimated, and it's still being confirmed and tracked, over 435 people have perished in the post-fire event in deaths that are being attributed to causation of the fire, and as well as upwards of 25,000 people were displaced from their homes.
Yeah. I really want to set the stage here because the LA County Fire Department, they released this long-awaited conclusion, and it's really significant. The department concluded that electrical arcing is an out-of-service Southern California Edison transmission tower that sparked the January 2025 Eaton Fire, the fire that killed at least 19 people in Altadena, and to James' point, destroyed roughly 9,000 structures and over more than 14,000 acres. And so the report, it really gets specific. The fuel bed ignited approximately 12 seconds after the burning material was seen falling from the arson event. I've got to ask, I think we have Brandon Lamar with us. Brandon Lamar will be joining us momentarily. But James, you have been on the ground in the beginning of this crisis, the beginning of this tragedy, really. On the human level, what was your reaction to this report today?
They're personally speaking, Dr. Nii-Quartelai, but I have to kind of conflate the two because I'm personally impacted. I've been reporting for the last 19 months on the ground since day one because I live inside of the fire zone, right? My family and I had to evacuate. And so personally, it is a bit of relief in that we now have evidenced, an independent report, documentation that, folks like you and I can put our hands on and move away from the alleged language or not quite yet verified language. But what this report does inform me is what I have said, Dr. Nii-Quartelai, on my program for the last 80 some odd weeks, is that somebody or somebodies didn't do their job. We knew that, and it didn't necessarily take a report for us to understand that. There were 13 independent verified videos that Edison would have had the community to not believe their lying eyes. And so from the beginning, Edison has attempted to abscond themselves from accountability. They've attempted to deflect themselves. They've blamed, encampments, or even flirted with blaming undocumented community members as a part of perhaps an encampment that could have sparked the fire. But it's my belief and my reporting since day one, Doc, that there was no deniability that Edison was the causation of this fire. We knew that on January 7th, 8th, and we know it today for sure.
Brandon Lamar, the president of the NAACP chapter in Pasadena. Brandon, I hope you can hear us.
I can hear you now.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And so what was your initial reaction to this report? As James just mentioned, to some people, it may sound like water is wet. But what did it sound like to you?
To me, my initial reaction was, tell us something new. This is something that we already knew. And now we just have a report, we have paper, we have documents to tell us what we've already known from the beginning. And I think that is sometimes what is disheartening for a community, especially in communities of color, is that we live out truths, even when people don't believe the truth that we live out. And so it's sad that, a report like this had to happen, it had to happen, you can't take it away. But at the same time, this is what community have been saying all along. This is what neighbors have been saying all along. This is what people who have been impacted by this fire have said all along. And I think now that we have this truth coming into community, then we should be seeing wholeness happening within community much faster because of this, right? And so it's not only accountability, but if you have accountability without making a community whole, then you really have nothing. And so I think with this documentation, it's going to allow our community to get the accountability that is needed, so our communities can be made whole in this time.
And just as you were just laying that out, I couldn't help but wonder, what does today's fire department report actually change for families who are 18 months in the rebuilding? In some cases, folks who still can't rebuild for a whole wide variety of reasons. Does this strengthen their hand, particularly those folks who might have been considering, signing up for this Southern California Edison wildfire fund? I know there's been a lot of talk in the community about that fund and what happens in terms of people's ability to pursue any suits against Southern California Edison if they tap that fund. What are you seeing? What are you hearing related to that?
Yeah, I think a part of the accountability part of it is the lawsuit, right? And oftentimes you can't hold people accountable if you don't go through the lawsuit, and so that is one way to do it. Now, the other thing that we have to acknowledge is that this took 18 months, and not everybody had 18 months to wait. There are people who sold their lots, their grandparents who sold their lots, their children who sold their lots because they didn't have the finances either to rebuild or the finances to stay in their community. The last time I was on your show, I had mentioned that, I had just spoken to a survivor who's living in New Mexico at his parents' house. There's another survivor that I've spoken to that is living in Atlanta at his grandmother's house, because people are so stretched so far wide, not just in LA County and San Bernardino County, but this has really brought not only a mental health toll, but this is a financial strain on people, and not everybody can wait for the lawsuit to complete to make their lives whole. I think this document that came out today gives people fuel behind the fire, and hopefully allows us to speed up the process to make families whole, and to show that there is negligence that happened, and we have to work together in order to make that happen. But we have to hold who's responsible. And now we know Edison, which we've been knowing, we have to hold them accountable to it. And whether that be the lawsuit or other ways, I think those are the real conversations that we have to have. I think also on the other side of it, Edison, who is not going anywhere, has to have a real honest conversation about their infrastructure and a real honest conversation about what they are paying their members in bonuses, who actually are getting millions of dollars in bonuses on the backs of the pain of our community. Now, if you do your job, then you deserve that bonus. But literally, if you destroyed an entire community, then that's something has to give behind that, right? And I believe in working together, and I believe that we have to bring our community together. And once again, Edison ain't going nowhere. But even though they're not going anywhere, we still have to have a sense of accountability within this fight.
I just want to double click on what you just raised, because it did cross my mind as I was reading the Associated Press story about the report from the LA Fire Department today, and it made me go back and look at an article that's published in the New York Times on February 18th. The headline read, "Edison will reduce executive bonuses as a result of the Eaton Fire." A half dozen senior executives at Southern California Edison and its parent company, they reported, will lose an estimated $2 million in bonuses as a result of the devastating Eaton Fire. Is that enough?
To be honest, no. And I'll say it like this, accountability looks different to everybody. But $2 million is not enough, especially when the president of Edison International received over $10 million. I don't know the exact number, but he received over $10 million in bonuses just on last year alone. And so, within that fight, it's understanding that, you can't say you want accountability, but then turn your back on community at the same time. And so I don't think it's enough. I think that there's more that can be done, especially when there's projected billions of dollars of damages that has happened in our community, and understanding the toll that it has taken in our community, and the heartstrings that it is presented in our community. And people are still fighting every single day, right? I celebrated one of our community members who goes to my church. He just moved into his home 2 weeks ago, and literally his next door neighbors are living in a tent and in their cars right next door to his house. So in one way, we have a celebration. On the other side of it, we still see the despair and the tragedy behind what is taking place within our community. And I think those are the hard conversations that we really have to adjust. But this part allows us to see it in a different way.
Yeah. There are folks out there that say that what's happening in Altadena is a part of a pattern nationally, particularly a pattern related to Black communities that are bearing disproportionate exposure to environmental risk and infrastructure risk. Do you think the Eaton Fire fits that pattern, or is this its own story?
I believe it fits the pattern behind it. I've said that, disasters don't discriminate, recovery does. And we've seen it not only in the span of, we're talking about this report that the LA Fire Department has done, but I think that there has to be some accountability within our fire department as well. When you see fire hydrants that are not working, water that is not in the fire hydrant, so you can't even put out a fire without any water. And then even the response that have came out of the amount of county fire trucks that was in Altadena to fight the fires, right? Like there are literally things that we're seeing across the board that are injustices to our community as the Black community, African American community, community of color. But we've seen this in every single disaster. You also see this in the response to disasters, right? When you look at disasters that is happening predominantly in African American communities, you also see who's able to come back. And the majority of Black communities are never able to come back as a whole when it comes to after the disasters. And so this is what is shaping our communities. It's what's shaping our national community. And I think that's something that we really have to pay more attention to in the Black community, especially because disasters are not going anywhere. They're going to continue to happen. Climate change is here, and we're fighting a battle that we really have to work together to really overcome.
When we come forward, we'll be joined again by James Farr. He is the host of our KBLA weekend show, Conversations Live, Altadena Forward. I'm curious about what your message is for displaced Altadena families that are listening or streaming right now. When we come forward, I want to give you an opportunity to share what they need to know about this report, the bellwether trials, and the claims process. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Brandon Lamar of the Pasadena chapter of the NAACP and our very own James Farr.
Eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. A new poll finds strong support for Democrat James Tallarico among Black voters after his primary win over Jasmine Crockett. Pollster Mark Jones says Tallarico will need that support to defeat Republican Ken Paxton.
And they say that Jasmine Crockett's loss in the Marks primary will not depress their turnout.
The poll also found most Black voters believe Texas Democrats take them for granted. Black Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is down a second high-profile financial staffer in less than a week. Budget Director Annette Guzman is resigning to care for an aging parent days after CFO Stephen Marr stepped down. And NBC is launching its first celebrity edition of The Voice, hosted by Keke Palmer. Queen Latifah, Joe Jonas, and Riley Green will serve as coaches as actors, athletes, influencers, and other stars compete. The Voice Celebrity is set to air in 2027. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CummonsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The USC Notre Dame football rivalry is back on the schedule. The longtime rivals agreed to start playing each other again in 2030. USC and Notre Dame signed off with a new 4-year home-and-home series. After last year's game in South Bend, the two programs decided to end the rivalry when they couldn't agree on future dates. USC and Notre Dame have been playing each other since 1926. Here are the top 5 HBCU football players this season. Alabama State quarterback Andrew Body, Hampton offensive lineman Omari Allen, Alabama State offensive lineman Elijah Baker, Southern University defensive back Herman Brister, and Alabama A&M quarterback Cornelius Brown. Clippers guard Darius Garland was among the NBA players and celebrities who attended the wedding of Cleveland Cavaliers star Donovan Mitchell and R&B singer Coco Jones. Mitchell and Jones were married Saturday in Greenwich, Connecticut. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's do this.
We're heading into one of the most important election seasons in a generation. And with so much on the line, your health care, your economy, your neighborhood, you deserve more than sound bites. You deserve the full story. KBLA Talk 1580 is your trusted voice for political coverage, commentary, and conversation. From local races to national headlines, we bring you the insight and perspective you need to make sense of it all and make your voice heard. Between now and November, a lot will happen, a lot will change, but one thing won't. KBLA Talk 1580 will be right here, keeping you informed, keeping you engaged, and keeping it real. KBLA Talk 1580, the place for politics.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. These are hard times for housing in America. Too many in our community face barriers to safe housing, behavioral health care, and affirming spaces for healing, particularly those impacted by poverty and stigma or incarceration. Rooted in South LA, Ahmad supports impacted communities through housing, wellness, and leadership development. Ahmad provides culturally responsive, peer-led support from transitional housing and mental health services to leadership development and youth empowerment. They offer safe, affirming houses for youth, transgender women, and formerly incarcerated individuals. Therapy and peer support with a focus on healing trauma in Black communities. HIV prevention and care, free testing, education, and wraparound services for whole person wellness. Standing in the gap with health, housing, and hope. Reach out to Ahmad Institute at 323-569-1610. That's 323-569-1610. Or visit amaad.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
National news, the consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, and really honored to be in conversation with my colleague, James Farr. He is the host of Altadena Rising, of Conversations Live, Altadena Forward, right here on KBLA Talk 1580, and Brandon Lamar, who is the president of the Pasadena chapter of the NAACP. These gentlemen have been on the ground from the beginning. I mean, hat tip, I got my hat on today, hat tip to both of you for just your commitment, your work, and your witness. I know that a lot of it is not very glamorous, and I know it's oftentimes not easy, but you all have really stuck with the recovery and accountability efforts, and we are most grateful to both of you for being here. We've been talking about this this report from the LA Fire Department about the Eaton Fire, an 18-month investigation that is basically saying what so many folks in the community have believed to be the case. The LA County Fire Department report, it's concluded that CAL FIRE's parallel investigation status should be described as ongoing. But they've said, hey, Southern California Edison, their equipment failed and caused this fire, which led to loss of life and property and all of that. Before the break, I was raising the question around the relevance of this to displaced Altadena families that are listening right now, that are streaming right now. What is it that they need to know about this report, about the bellwether trials and the claims process?
Sure. I will first address the bellwether trials, right? And inform the audience. First of all, I'm not a lawyer, not an attorney, but what a bellwether trial is, when you have an action similar like this, where there are going to be multiple plaintiffs who likely have a similar claim, right? A similar complaint against the defendant, right? So what happens is, rather than thousands of individual jury trials happening, they kind of take a sampling of those claims and then kind of run them through a trial. And then that informs the disposition of the additional complaints. This typically happens as a preventative measure that kind of leads towards the conversation around settlement. I don't want to get too far ahead of that conversation just yet, but that does inform what the bellwether means. And so, simply put, not everyone will have their individual case in court, but there will be a collective case should the trial be late January. As far as it relates to Southern California wildfire compensation that they've touted rolled out, it won't have much of an impact on how they administer their fund. That fund was architect with the intent of.
We're having a little bit of issue with your audio, James, but Brandon, I want to ask you about just the utility regulation landscape. We know that utility regulation, it's one of those issues that it crosses party lines depending on the state. And if you have 5 minutes with a California utility regulator from either party, what's the one policy change that the NAACP is demanding, or that folks in your coalition are demanding?
Yeah, so one thing that we have to really understand about this fire is that the transmitter that caused this fire actually was a transmitter that was not in use. And it has not been in use for some time now, right? The other thing that is important is that we can change this with policy change. Senator Sashane Perez actually brought to the floor a policy that will force utility companies to take down transmitters that they're no longer using, take down transmitter that no longer is in operation, that they're no longer using, and it got vetoed in Sacramento, right? This is one of the things that we are seeing in our community is policies that will actually protect communities, not only communities of color, but everyone. It will protect all of us in these things, and they get vetoed because of the power that utility companies have within Sacramento or within Washington, D.C., right? And so we can talk about policies all day long, but we also have to talk about the powers that be when it comes to utility companies, and how they give to politicians in their campaigns and things of that nature, which is causing our local communities to actually suffer long term. So if that was actually something that we could have passed last year, we would have seen transmitters that are not being used across the state being taken away. But being that was one of the things that caused our fire, or the thing that caused our fire here at Eaton, it really brings a toll in what our community needs to see change within.
James, I think you can hear us well now.
I can, Doc. Yeah, it's a busy day.
That's right. It is a busy day. Mercury's in retrograde. We're gonna fight back. That's all right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we were just talking about just sort of the regulatory, landscape. What are you hearing as we're getting closer to the November election? We know that Steve Hilton and Javier Becerra are running for governor. A lot of folks are running for a lot of offices that are going to be really important to the recovery of Altadena, whether we're talking about California Attorney General or talking about California Insurance Commissioner. Have there been any promises made to the people of Altadena as we're heading into November that our leaders, learners, and listeners might want to reflect on before they get their ballot?
Sure. Let me qualify that, Doc, as someone on the ground who has been reporting this from day one. I have not been informed of any promises from either candidate, and that's telling, not so much in the sense that I don't know of any promises. What that really speaks louder to is their absence from this community during this election time. And so there is a concern that the attention prior to getting through the primaries to get into the general election in November, we can anticipate that there'll be a flood of promises that will come into the community between now and election. The question always is, Doc, are those promises made and promises kept? Outgoing Governor Gavin Newsom promised $2.5 billion in relief shortly after the fire, no strings attached. Where's the money at, Governor Newsom? Those are the questions that people are asking. Right now, people don't want promises. They don't want a promissory note. They don't want debt. What they want is the resources to put a shovel in the ground. The need is moving and evolving forward into more of the community needs, that is, the resources to start rebuilding, not more workshops, not more giveaways, not more philanthropic charity. All those things are received well, but what folks need now, Doc, plain and simple, is a direct deposit so that they can direct that to a contractor to get their lives back moving forward.
Brandon, as we are about to enter the final stretch of this election cycle, and I know that after Labor Day, it's on and popping between September and Election Day. What do you want our leaders, learners, and listeners to ask of these candidates that are running for these offices that matter when it comes to the recovery in places like Altadena and the Palisades? What are some of the key questions we need to be asking and considering before we cast our votes in November?
Yeah, I think before I tap into that, I want to say that, Governor Newsom did sign the bill for $2.5 billion. And it was shown that he did not spend half of that money, which then they returned it back into the state's budget. And so it was allocated towards the recovery. It was not spent, and so was sent back into the state budget. And so I do want to put that out there. And that has to be some accountability to that. We need to know where it is. Going back to your question, though, when it comes to November, I think the thing that we really have to see is on the side of accountability. We keep talking about accountability. Things keep happening within our community without no accountability. And I think that's what we really have to see for, number one, our insurance commissioner, right? State Farm was held accountable and to a certain extent where they were fined $4 million, right? But we understand that State Farm is not the only insurance agency who has done fire victims wrong, especially in the Eaton Fire. And so there has to be more accountability between our state, our people who are paying their premiums, and these insurance companies. And there has to be faster payouts. There are still people right now who have been impacted by this fire who paid their premiums on time for years who have still not received their insurance money. And so I think that has to be more accountability within that space of it. We also need more accountability when you talk about the governor's seat. We need more accountability when it comes to the budget, not just putting things in a budget that affects you and your departments, but things that affects our community. And to see that $2.5 billion was actually not promised, but $2.5 billion was given and signed to our community, but it was not spent the way it was supposed to be spent. That means it's still there somewhere. And so we have to have accountability within those stances of it. At the end of the day, what I always say is that when it comes to disasters don't look at if you're a Republican or you're a Democrat. Disaster hits everyone, and so disasters are not a political issue. It is a humanitarian issue. And so at the end of the day, we need to make sure that people are actually able to come back home and be made whole, no matter what policies are there. I think the last thing that I'll say, and I'll leave it here when it comes to this, is aside from policies, we need to make sure that some of these people that are in office, if not all these people that are coming into office, that they are hiring people that look like what our communities look like. And that is not the case most times. And so when we're looking at this and we're advocating and we're pushing for these things, we need to make sure that our communities are being hired within these positions, because that's when true accountability and connection happens.
Speaking of true accountability and connection, the story of what continues to transpire in Altadena is not just unique to Altadena. It may be coming to a community near you. James, hundreds of miles north of us in Spokane, Washington, they're going through something that will look painfully familiar to you. Wildfires that began Saturday have forced the evacuation of roughly 65,000 people in the Spokane area, with 3 blazes collectively called the Spokane Complex Fire, burning over 8,000 acres. Spokane County Fire District 3 chief said that 640 structures were destroyed in the Old Trails fire alone. There's also another troubling development. A man has been charged with arson in connection with the Old Trails, and that suspect reportedly had a prior manslaughter conviction. One resident's words capture it, saying, "Nothing has sunk in yet. I'm still processing it." And our hearts go out to everyone there in Washington that are absorbing the shock of this. But James, as someone who lived through Eaton, what's the first thing you noticed in the Spokane coverage that may have took you right back to January 2025?
Just the sheer terror in people's faces, right? The concern in the immediacy, right? I think I have a different discernment for this 1,000-yard stare that kind of envelops a person when they're facing such a tragedy. While that alleged is to believe to be caused by an arsonist, I think it's important that we separate the Eaton Canyon fire as corporate negligence, right? That actually coincide with a natural wind act, right? These winds blowing on January 7th were essentially a hurricane without rain. And I don't think that is a description that the audience has in understanding just how these flames were blowing like a blowtorch. So my heart goes out to the folks up in the state of Washington. I know folks here can understand, and we hope that they get the same justice they are seeking that many of the community members right here in Altadena are seeking, which is just simply accountability. The difference is a criminal prosecution looks much differently than a multi-corporate, billion-dollar conglomerate absconding themselves from responsibility and blaming it on the very people and community that they burned out.
Brandon, in our remaining minutes, Spokane and Altadena are very different demographically. I've got to ask you this question straight up. Does the disaster response and the national attention, you suspect it's going to look different because of who lives there?
The truth of the matter is, I don't know. Every disaster since the Eaton Fire has not actually received FEMA dollars as they should have under this administration. And that's all the way from, Missouri to Texas and everywhere else that you've seen. We have not seen the response from FEMA as we have seen before this administration got back into office. And so I think that's the concern that we have right now. I think the other thing that we have to really push on our communities is that we really have to start pushing our communities to really prepare for disasters before they strike. We cannot wait and say, well, that's not going to happen to us, because we've always said it until it did happen to us. And so I think one thing that we really have to push for, and going back to your point about this November election, is that we have to put people in office that's going to push for these FEMA dollars, these dollars to get into the hands of our community members and to the people who are affected the most by disasters. At the same time, if we're not able to rebuild, our communities won't be diverse. And I think that's the part that we have to continue to understand, is that, yes, you can give write people a check, but if it's not a check to make them whole and to make them rebuild, then nothing really matters to that point.
Brother Brandon, Brother James, thank you for joining us. Our hearts stay with, of course, the people in Spokane, the way that they've stayed with the folks in Altadena. When we come forward, our final story of the day, ICE ankle monitors and the end of protection for thousands of Haitian families. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward. Thanks, gents.
For me, anybody who's spending their time in 2026 talking about 2028 or planning for 2028, it tells me that you're not as
Save money. Through the Cool LA program, eligible customers can receive instant rebates of up to $275 on new portable, window, and wall air conditioners. Shop the Cool LA Marketplace today and beat the heat and save. Learn more and apply at ladwp.com/cool-LA. That's ladwp.com/cool-LA.
You ready?
Drop it. 2 shows, 1 Friday. All Amanda Seals. What's up, y'all? Catch me here on KBLA Talk 1580, first from noon to 2 p.m. And if you miss me, I'm back 4 to 6 p.m. See, this is where the conversation gets real. Ooh, and it gets good. So don't miss it. Fridays only on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA Talk 1580 stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't back down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage career track jobs. The LA Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. And they are advocating for a fair deal for black workers in the new Los Angeles City Charter. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing, or learn about union apprenticeship programs and trade registries, please visit lablackworkercenter.org. That's lablackworkercenter.org. Together, we can beat the black jobs crisis and build a more equitable Los Angeles. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
We've had neighbors who have had the garbage truck potentially swipe their vehicles because if you park just a little bit too much into the street, you're at risk of getting it hit. If you park too much forward or back, you can't get in and out of your own driveway. And if you're late for a meeting or an appointment, pretty big deal. I really hope we never have a major emergency on this street because being able to get fire department in and out would be very difficult. Personally, what child, the project goes well beyond anything that my husband and I are facing personally with our home. We do have a very large project within our house. We are very blessed to be in it, but it needs a completely new foundation. It is currently slipping into Crenshaw right now, and we cannot do that work because a concrete truck can't come in to actually do the work. So it's a bit scary for us in that manner. But there have been, there are numerous things that I know we will hear about today that everybody is facing on a daily basis. We really look forward to hearing what everybody has been going through and then trying to find a way to get the construction complete and move forward.
Making sure they follow through. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and you, working to build a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. It's time for the quiet part out loud. And I've got to say, we close today's story out of Ohio that deserves your full attention. The Department of Homeland Security has begun summoning Haitian immigrants in Ohio to check-in appointments where federal officers are outfitting them with ankle monitors. This after the Supreme Court, of course, allowed the Trump administration to end their humanitarian protections. It's worth noting that the executive director of the Haitian Bridge Alliance, Gerline Joseph, said that about 50 Haitians with temporary protective status in Springfield, Ohio, were called into ICE offices on a single Friday. Local attorneys say that those immigrants were arrested and then conditionally released with electronic monitoring devices, instructed not to travel outside a 75-mile radius of their home. Now, this is a legal gray zone that we're in right now. The Department of Homeland Security states online that TPS for Haitians was terminated effective July 27, 2026, but attorneys say TPS can't officially end until lower courts execute the Supreme Court's ruling. And one attorney focused on TPS litigation says that for all practical intents and purposes, there's no longer any protection. A DHS spokesperson pushed back hard on that framing, calling the lower court judges who disagree activists, and stating that Haitians with TPS cannot and will not be able to stay. Now, the human toll is real and immediate. One Haitian resident was reportedly told that either wear the ankle monitor or accept $2,600 and deportation. That's where we're at. And that is our show for today. Today we watched democracy play out in real time in Michigan and Missouri. We honored a father this country failed in New Jersey. We got real about how AI is reshaping espionage, education, and the law itself with Germar Reed. And we went back to Altadena because Eaton isn't history. It's still unfolding. And today it got a little more clear who's responsible. We connected to the pain to Spokane, Washington, because grief and rebuilding don't care what state you live in. And we close with Haitian families in Ohio, wondering if the protection this country promised them still means anything. This is what we do here. We tell the truth. We hold the powerful accountable, and we do it with love for our people. You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. My thanks to the entire village helps us produce the show. Tavis Smiley, Brother Andy, Brother Art, Brother Faraji. Remember, don't panic. Organize, do what you can from where you are with what you have. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai. You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.